Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, prince and princesses. My name is Sankara Nyagaya. I'm a climate justice advocate. I'm also a custodian of indigenous cultural knowledge. I'm also privileged to be an award-winning environmentalist for the Hummingbird of the Year Award individual category in regard to climate conservation and climate change awareness.
My name is Faith Ngige, the National Coordinator for the Kenya Platform for Climate Governance, which is the designated national platform for PACJA.
Hi, my name is Atulo Joseph. I work at Mtoto News as the Child Participation and Policy Advocacy Manager. Mtoto News is a children's digital platforms, a space that allows children to express themselves and be who they are. And we basically work around child participation as a core area, basically inviting children and empowering children to be able to take part in conversations that concern them and issues that concern them. And because of that, they become child rights advocates and advocates in different fronts like child climate advocates. And we also work around content creation, where we create content for children, by children, and with children. Basically, all our content is around children issues. And we also work, the third area, in research, child-led research, and we also do research around issues to do with children.
The significance of the Africa Climate Summit was that it brought Africa together to be able to speak from one voice and to be able to have a resolution that fed into COP28. In addition, it provided an opportunity for us in Kenya to be able to showcase our story, to be able to showcase our contribution, and also be able to network with the world in addressing the climate change crisis.
The most significant outcome for me, I'd say, is the Nairobi Declaration. And to even make it better, that Nairobi Declaration had a Children's Declaration. And why was it a significant outcome for me? It was basic, and for us at Mtoto News, it was basically the fact that we made commitments. Everyone that was there, the stakeholders, in advocacy we call them duty bearers, were all there. African leaders, we had youth leaders, we had civil society organizations, we had, most importantly, children, and all these people making commitments. This is what I'm going to do in relation to climate action for the CSOs, for the children, and most importantly, the children declaration saying we want to be part of this conversation, and we have people that are supporting us to be part of this conversation, organizations like Mtoto News, and this was really significant for me as an outcome. And just going forward, looking at organizations like Mtoto News, where I work for, where I work at, and coming up with projects. Like this year we had a project of children in climate accountability, and we basically took the conversation forward. Children said they want some things to be done, wanting to be part of the conversations. And what did we do? We worked in 3 counties, empowering children and educators and also parents, ensuring that they're able to talk about climate action.
To me, the summit was very impactful, and the most significant outcome of the summit was the fact that the heads of state that came together for the summit, the global leaders, the civil society organizations, the indigenous communities came out strongly to attest that the Paris Agreement has not been adhered to, and this is causing an increment in the global emissions. And on the same note, there was a collective agreement to reduce the global emissions by 43% in a decade. Besides this, we can also take away home the fact that the summit also was able to communicate clearly to the world that Africa in itself compared to all the other, or rather compared to the global north, is Africa is warming up at a much more faster rate than all these other regions. Therefore, it is imperative that deliberate efforts and intentions are made towards curbing the emissions and accelerating the commitments and the pacts that were made during the Paris Agreement.
I'd say it is important to have conversations like the upcoming ACS at One because it enables us to assess our commitments. Let me say, last year, even when the summit was being planned, when we were at the summit, we looked and realized this is where we are at on matters climate action. And so having an event like this is going to help us reflect, look back. Have we made any progress since the African Climate Summit, Africa Climate Week? And looking at that also, have we what the commitments that we made during the summit, have we honored them? The children asked the leaders to have certain things done to them, and the leaders made commitments. Looking back, have they done anything? As civil society organizations, we made commitments to children and to the whole climate action movement. Have we made progress towards this? So for me, it's about looking back and checking, are we moving forward, or are we stagnating, or are we even going backwards in whatever commitments that we made during the Africa Climate Summit?
ACS at One is very important to assist in following up with the commitments and the pledges that were made during the summit. This is because the effects of climate change are very dire, especially to the African communities. And for us to be able to achieve sustainable adaptation and mitigation, it is very important that these pledges and these commitments that were made during that summit are from time to time reviewed, so that we can be able also to improve on the areas that need improvement, and also bring out the challenges that we've been able to experience in achieving the commitments and the pledges that came forth during this summit. So it actually acts as a sense of bearing or direction to allow the summit to fully realize or correct the areas, the gray areas, and advance also with the areas that are proving to be sustainable in terms of climate mitigation and adaptation.
It is very commendable that Kenya is taking lead in organizing a forum where we can reflect on the declaration that was made at the ACS. The Nairobi Leaders Declaration was a call to action, and that means that beyond the commitment of the words, it is important that we put the declaration into action. Therefore, the reflection of ACS at One, and in particular the adaptation pillar to which I am the thematic lead, will provide us an opportunity to be able to reflect on what Kenya has undertaken since the ACS declaration was done, and also just be able to help us put to action. Most of the time, we have policies that are never implemented. Therefore, we are putting ourselves to task to account for our commitment in terms of what we are doing to implement the resolution.
ACS at One will help Africa keep track of its climate goals by again bringing together the different development partners that had committed and had also pledged to support climate resilience in Africa. This will allow us to be able to see different insights and different efforts that have been made in regard to climate adaptation and mitigation. Besides that, The ACS One will also allow us to propel the discussions around entrenching African Climate Summit as a biennial event of the African Union. This is very imperative because it will provide for a continental platform that will allow us to review and also make different changes in regard to the progress that has been made.
Africa is a very unique continent in the face of the climate change crisis. The world is getting hotter. And by the day, the impact of climate change crisis is growing bigger and bigger. For that reason, there is every single reason why Africa should be able to converge and be able to position the adaptation and resilience pillar to which is the priority for Africa. Therefore, it is important that the SCS declaration becomes our compass or our roadmap on what we needed to do, because the resolution was multi-sectorial, the resolution involved all the countries, and therefore it means it is the one compass that Africa has to direct us in which direction we should go in addressing the climate crisis.
We talk about getting to certain levels of temperature, and you look back and you're thinking, if we do not have these conversations, are we able to keep ourselves accountable to these commitments that we made? 2030, for example, it's nearing, and we have commitment, and I love the fact that we have Africans and organizations and individuals taking the role, being at the forefront of ensuring that something like the climate clock, for example, it's something that we're talking about each and every day. It is part of our everyday conversation. Something like the temperatures, reviewing the temperatures each and every time. Are we having this conversation? Do we want to wake up one day and say, oh, the temperatures are at this percent, you know? So for me, it is about us ensuring that we are having the conversation. And another thing is more of training, because like I mentioned earlier, Mtoto News embarked on a training for young climate champions and also educators. We partnered with GIZ Kenya and GIZ AU to ensure that we create materials that will ensure that the African child, wherever they are able to understand what is happening, and they are able to also find a voice in contributing to this, because we find some of the verbose words that we use, some of the big words they tell us every day, we cannot participate if you do not simplify some of these terms that you guys use. And so for us, we realize it is important for us to track the progress that we're making, and for us to ensure that there's something that we are doing. We have to ensure that the child first is able to understand, because like they have been here and mentioned, the future. They're there today and they're their future. So for them, being able to participate is really significant and is going to help in this conversation around climate action.